vs. Capcom 3.
So yes, after a very long wait, we finally have a new entry into the Marvel vs. Capcom series. This is a game I've waited a very long time for and had very set expectations for. Has the game met them? Well, it's divided the fans, and I certainly know where I stand on this one. Let's get one thing straight before we begin. This is not Marvel vs. Capcom 2. This does have 3D models instead of sprites, the game mechanics have been changed slightly, and the game does have a smaller roster. This is something I've had to get used to with other fighting series this generation as well. Dragon Ball, I'm looking at you. If you want Marvel vs. Capcom 2 with more characters, download Mugen. If you don't know what Mugen is, there's always Google. As soon as you pop the disc in, the new visuals are going to be the first thing you notice. Yes, the sprites we've loved through the Versus games are gone, but in their place are 3D models that have been lovingly crafted with a nice comic book shader. They've taken on the difficult task of allowing characters such as Zero and Beautiful Joe to stand next to more realistic characters such as Wesker, without being out of place. Naturally, the special effects seem to be more vibrant, more zany, and of course bigger and more colourful than ever before. The stages are superbly made, each encompassing their respective game series in a single room, which isn't an easy thing to do. Except maybe the Daily Bugle stage, I found them all to be instantly recognisable, and while there's enough going on to impress me, there wasn't so much going on in the background that I was ever distracted from the fight itself. My only complaint is that there aren't really that many of them. I was scratching my head thinking, really? When very early on I got an achievement for fighting on every stage. The controls have been remapped yet again, and I'll save you some frustration now. To switch to another team member you have to hold LB or RB, or I guess L1 or R1 on a PS3 pad. For the most part you won't notice much of a difference, but some of the broken combos from Marvel vs. Capcom 2 have been fixed. There's a new trick called X Factor which surrounds your character in a red aura and lets your health regenerate in an alarmingly fast pace while giving other buffs such as increased speed or strength. It can only be used once per match, so timing is crucial as you can devastate entire teams with it. There's also a second control mode called Simple to accommodate button mashers. But then, this is Marvel vs. Capcom, so button mashers should be able to play with the normal control scheme and still pull off something that looks cool and well executed. But really, I doubt they know what the hell they just did. Naturally, there's an online mode, and you'll either get a fantastic, nail-biting matchup with a fellow gamer, or someone who picks Magneto, Sentinel, and Deadpool before realizing that sitting in the corner and frying projectiles doesn't work on me. Which is when they disconnect. The internet. You have a license card which keeps comprehensive stats, and there's also a gallery mode where you can view character models, bios, endings, artwork, the lot. Though the endings really do leave a lot to be desired. On to probably the most controversial bit, the roster. Some characters are notably missing, where the hell is Cyclops, and you will wonder how others made the cut. For the most part, if someone's been removed, it's either for the best, Iceman, or you quickly find you don't miss them all that much. Rogue, surprisingly, as I used to use her a lot, and that others have been more or less replaced altogether. Hayato and Strider fans, just start using Dante. Somehow Tron, from the PS1 Mega Man Legends series, and then Misadventures of Tron Bonne, made it into this game. And yeah, she's a decent balanced character, but I'm shocked she's actually considered popular enough. Crimson Viper is another one I'd have rather traded out for someone else. The new additions are all very welcome in my book. Beautiful Joe just plain makes sense. Wesker's a badass, Chris more or less replaces Jill from MVC2, and we have more lovely ladies on Marvel's side in the form of Phoenix and X-23. X-23 easily being one of my new favourite characters. We also have Taskmaster, Dormammu, and Amaterasu with a handful of others. They're all well balanced, they all bring something new to the table, and again, they're all very welcome as far as I'm concerned. The old guard have been reworked a little as well. Most of them have just had their stats adjusted to balance them properly, some have had movesets slightly reworked, and others are just simply no longer cheap as all hell. While we're talking about characters being cheap as all hell, I want to make a quick mention of Galactus, the new arcade mode boss. I'm sorry, but Marvel vs. Capcom 1 spoilt me, and all I can think is it's just not Onslaught. However glad I was to see something impossibly huge. The game is confirmed to have DLC. Jill Valentine and Shu Megura are both returning to the fray as downloadable characters on the 15th of March. Now, those who pre-ordered the special edition of the game should be able to get these characters for free. However, I pre-ordered the Steelbook edition of the game, and I've gotta say, I didn't receive any kind of code or anything like that in the game itself or any of the manuals, and I'm not sure how Capcom Unity is supposed to differentiate between the two versions of the game. So this is something we're gonna have to wait and see on, but seeing as people have already found unfinished code for both Jill and Shuma on the retail disc, it kind of feels like it's the kind of DLC that's already there, you just have to pay to unlock it. Which, really, that should be included in the $39.99 that you put down for it in the first place. This is a topic that's widely debated, and it's something that I'll likely go into in more detail in a separate video altogether. It does point to future DLC including characters, though. I can see the roster expanding over the coming months as they drip these guys into the game. Perhaps it'll get to the point where it rivals MVC2's roster. Whether fans will be willing to pay the price for these extra fighters? We'll see. If there's a certain character you'd really like to see as DLC, let me know in the comments section. Overall, Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is an enjoyable fighter. I can't see it being used much at tournaments as it's not as technical as Street Fighter. Seriously, try the same tactics with Ryu in Super Street Fighter 4, then Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and, well, you'll see the results. But then again, due to its nature, pretty much anyone can play it and pretty much anyone can enjoy it. It's not Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and it's never going to be. But that's okay. In fact, it's a good thing, because it's progress, rather than just emulating what came before it. Unless you're a fan of the series, don't go and put $39.99 down for this game. Wait until it drops in price a bit, especially as I can see a fair amount of DLC coming out for it in the near future. As always, this has been Afr0Blu3, thanks very much for watching, feel free to rate, subscribe, all the usual stuff, and I'll catch you next time.
Ready?
Marvel vs. Capcom 2. New Age of Heroes.